All right, here we go, guys. Listen to me, please. Again, I was kind of pleased with your word problems. Pretty good. All right. Now, today, a little bit more challenging because we're adding and subtracting fractions. But for us, it's not going to be that difficult because it's a good little review of what we did last year. All right. Now, I know for the most part, it is a challenge. All right. That's why it's important to spend a little bit of time doing fractions. All right. And please pay attention. All right. Again, I'll help you through the first. And again, we're not going to worry about the word problems right now. But now, listen, I want everybody to write down number 1. Now, the key to remember is, please listen carefully, that everything revolves around the denominator. All right, so I'd like everybody to tell me on their own, on their paper, number 1, what is 2/3 quietly? Write the answer. What is 2/3 minus 1/3? Thomas, what is 2/3 minus 1/3? Do you remember? Shh, I don't want to hear more talking. What is 2/3 minus 1/3? Chloe.
1/3.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much. It is 1/3. Now, how do we get 1/3? Now, remember, guys, because they have a common denominator, we just add or subtract the numerators. Does everybody remember that? So I would like everybody to write down 2/3 minus 1/3 is, in fact, 1/3. All right. Yeah, I know some of you guys like to add your paper. So it's section 3-8, page 188, numbers 1 through 47. All right, that's kind of a lot, so I'm going to modify it, but I want to make sure you're paying attention, number 1. And number 2, immediately stop me when you don't know something. Immediately stop me. All right, so I just gave you the answer, number 1. 2/3 minus 1/3 is 1/3, right? So now, what? Yeah, let me just walk you through it, guys. Now, number 2, if somebody says to you 1/12 plus 1/12, you should be able to tell them quickly, Carly, it is 2/12. So everybody's going to write down on their paper 2/12. Now, the problem with 2/12 is that it can what? It can be simplified. It can be reduced. Remember that? Which is hard. So what number goes into 2 and 12? Right. So I'm just going to do all the math right now, but you don't have to because I want you to just say 2/12 is 1/6. But I'm just going to write it out just to show you the first couple times. So that's just what? 1/6. Is everybody okay with that? Right? Is everybody remembering? Coming back, hopefully. All right? So now we're at 16/21 minus 7/21, which gives me 9/21. Beautiful. And then that can be reduced. Now, but before I reduce it, I'm trying to make sure. Listen, everybody's got to hear me. If you don't know something, you just have to tell me now. Right? Fractions are really important. You good so far? Okay. So 9/21 can be divided by
3.
Yes. So of course I'm not asking you. I'm just doing this right now to show all the work to start out with. But I would want you to just say that's obviously what? 3/7. Is everybody happy with that? Easy, right? And now, number 4. Everybody should be able to loud and proud. 15/17. Right? Does that reduce? No. So that's the answer. Right? You can just write 15/7. So 15/17. Just write the answer. It's that easy. All right? No, you can write it out. That's good too. Honestly, I'm not going to penalize you one way or another. I think mental math is important. I think if somebody says 4/17 plus 11/17, if you can't say 15/17, we're in 4th grade behind. Everybody hear me on that? I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying that's what you did in 4th grade. The fractions were the same, just added them or subtracted them. What makes it harder this year is we put in positives and negatives. That's the hard part. All right? and getting common denominators, like in number 8. We're going to have to switch it up. But you guys should be pretty good at that after we review. All right, so now let's look at the next section. So now 5, 6, 7, and 8 are the hard ones. 5, 6, 7, and 8 are the hard ones because we don't have what? We don't have the same denominator. Let me ask you this, though. Does everybody understand why? And be honest, because again, I think the reason why most kids don't understand fractions is because they don't even understand what a fraction is. Does everybody understand why 1/6 plus 1/3 we can't add together?
Yeah, because it's not the same denominator.
It's not the same what, actually? It's not the same size. It's not the same size. So let me give you an example, all right? So the reason why you can't group this together, and it'll be easier for me, and I want to show you this because I think it's important, all right? I want to show you this down here, all right? So what was it, 1/3 plus 1/6, right? All right, so please watch so you have a better understanding, all right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to draw something. And this right here represents, and then of course, once we do the easy, you can apply it to the what? The complex, all right? But what I'm going to say to you right now is this represents one whole. So bear with me. That represents one whole, all right? This over here is going to represent another what? It's going to represent another whole. All right. Now, you have to tell me, what does 1/6 represent? All right. A part of a whole, right? That's right. So look right here, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, and please, all I'm asking you to pay attention because I know math because I understand math. All right. Anytime a teacher told me to memorize this, we got in a little bit of trouble. All right. Because I didn't want to know exactly just to memorize it. I want to understand why it is. All right. So now I want everybody to understand, for me, that this now, that's right. That represents what? That represents 1/6. And now I'm adding what? I'm adding it to 1/3. So now what I want to do is I want you to recognize this. Please just pay attention. I want you to recognize that this now represents what? 1/3, because I divided it up into what? 3 what? 3 equal parts. So now in your brain, you should be able to say, I can't add those together. I can't add those together because they're not the same units. Right? It's like saying this. It's like saying $1 plus 1/4 is $2. You can't add $1 and 1/4 together because they're not the same units. Is everybody with me on this? So what do you have to do? You have to make them the same unit. All right? You have to make them. That's right. We'll get to that. But what does 1/3 physically represent?
2/6.
It represents 2/6. Now that's excellent. So now what I want to do is I want everybody to look up here. Right now, this is in thirds. Everybody see? That's 1/3. That's 1/3. Uh-oh. And this is 1/3. Does everybody see that?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I'm going to do is, instead of doing it in thirds, I'm just going to cut it into what?
6.
Sixes. That's exactly right. And what do you notice about 1/3? 1/3 is the same as what? Is the same as 2/6. Everybody see that now? Now you have 1/6 and you have 2 6s, which means you have altogether what? 3 6s. Now watch. If I take this orange and I add it over here, that's how I get what? 3 6. And then you're right. No, perfect. And that 3 6 is what? It's 1/2. How do I know it's 1/2? Because I'm looking at the picture saying it's 1/2. Everybody with me? Now again, that's just the really basics. It's harder to draw like 7ths and 9ths and 13ths. Does everybody agree with me on that? So there has to be a process of coming up with a common denominator. And the common denominator really is what we say in math is just the least common multiple. That's what it is.
So, how do we get an easier way so we don't have to draw?
Yeah, we're gonna. That's what my job is to show you right now.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going to show you right now. All right. So again, obviously, we're not going to draw pictures. That's that. But what I'm hoping you can see now is I can't add them together because they're not the same thing. 1/3 and 1/6 is not the same thing, so you can't add them together. So what do you have to do? You have to make them the what? You have to make them the same thing. And the same thing is the denominator. The same thing is the denominator.
From the beginning, I was kind of thinking this. So, like, since it's just that, and since you have 6 and 6, if you just put that,
No, that's true. That's exactly true.
Like, I didn't know that.
Yep. No, that's exactly true. But does everybody agree we don't want to draw pictures anymore? All right, I'm not into drawing. All right. So here we go. Here's what I want you to do. Now, what you have to remember is we're trying to make a common denominator, which just means what do I have to multiply the 3 by to make it a 6?
2.
Right. So look what I'm saying. So you're going to multiply this by 2 and this by 2. So that makes that now 1/6 plus what? 2/6, which is the same as 3/6, which is the same as. Now, that's what's on your paper, guys. The other ones are what? Simple. I don't care if you do mental math on the simple ones, but this is not a simple one. So I'm expecting you to write it out like I did. Now, I always used to tell my kids 1 through 4 is easy. Question 5 is medium. The reason question 5 is a medium problem is because I only have to change one of the fractions. A hard one is when I have to change what? Both of the fractions. All right, so let's look at number 6. Number 6 is considered a what? Hard one. So I have to look at 10 and 4 and figure out what can I multiply to get it to be the same. What do you think?
You can do, you can make it 10 times 4 and then 4 times 10.
Exactly. Is there something even smaller, though?
20.
You can do 20. Now, listen to me. Is 20 necessarily better than 40? No. It's just going to require what? Less work. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Right? So Jack's first response was 40. 10, 20, 30, 40. And 4 goes into what? 40. But now, Thomas, listen to the way I try to tell kids. I try to count by this number until I get to a number that's divisible by 4. I always go to the larger one.
So you can do like times 2.
10, and then what? 20. Does 4 go into 10? No, so then I try what? Does 4 go into 20? So I know 20 is my common denominator. Is everybody with me on this? Right? So now when you're writing it out, here's what you're going to be doing for me. Here's what you're going to be doing for me. All right? You can write 20 on the bottom. And you can write 20 on the bottom. And we're subtracting. Now, the first equation, Carla, what do I have to multiply the first equation by? I mean, not the equation, but the first fraction. I'm trying to multiply it by what? 2. You see what I'm saying, right? So if I multiply this by 2, I have to multiply the what? Yeah, I have to multiply the top by 2, Carly. You with me? So what's 9? Let her talk. Let her talk, please. So 9 times 2 is what? You with me so far, kiddo? 18 out of 20, right? So now you know I'm going to ask you about the second fraction. What? Yes, there you go. Times 5. And then I times 5, right? And so that becomes what? 15. Come on, this isn't that hard. It's not that hard. Thomas, you with me? Okay. And so now, what's 18 minus 15? 3 over 20. Can I reduce 3 over 20? No, I cannot reduce 3 over 20, so that's my answer. All right, that's my answer. Leighton, you with me? All right, is that good for you? No. Number 7, Ava, what are we doing? What number? Now, if you ever get in trouble, you can do it Jack's way. You can just multiply by the opposite, right? Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Like, so you can multiply this by 8 and this by what? There you go. That's always the answer, right? But if I do that over here, then I'm going to end up having to reduce the fraction. Do you hear me? right? So now let me try to explain again what I would want you to do. Start with 8. Does 3 go into 8? So then you do 16. Does 3 go into 16? No. So then you do 24. Does 3 go into 24? Yes. Is everybody with me on this? All right. So the common denominator again is what? 24. So here we go. Common denominator is 24 and 24. All right. So what do I multiply the first? Let her do it. Hey, what do I multiply the first fraction? Yes, times 8. And that would be what? 16.
And then 1 times 2.
Yes, perfect. Come on now. Some of you guys who said you weren't very good at fractions, you got to tell me now. So far, that's not that hard now, right? It's really not that hard.
I feel like it's easier
All right.
that I'm learning how to keep this.
Here we go. What is now 16 plus 3? 19 over 24. And again, I keep telling you now, look, if you wait until we do 10 or 15 problems before you say, man, I'm going to be mad at you. All right, you tell me right now when you don't know something so I can show you. It's getting, every time we do a problem, it's getting a little bit what? Harder, a little bit harder, a little bit harder. All right?
So you just multiply the bottom two together?
Yes, you can. If they're called relatively prime, that means there's nothing common with 3 and 8. Right? But again, I don't even care about that. I want you to be able to look at 3 and 8 and say, obviously the answer is 24. Because 8 goes into 24 and 3 goes into 24. We're doing the multiples of 3 and the multiples of 8. That's how we're coming up with 24. Because we could have chosen 48. Does everybody agree with that? Because 8 goes into 48 and 3 goes into 48. Does everybody agree?
I was just saying in 4th grade, Mrs. Rice would make us write down all of these definitions, and like she took away like some of our recess time. I was inside for 4 weeks in a row. Write out all the multiples and then find
Which one's common?
I was so pressured.
You got it now, right? It's simple. Do you agree? Okay, so let's look now at 8 and 10. Now, the one that most people say is 80. Right? But it would be what, Carter? 40 is better. Now, if you did 80, would you get the same answer? You would just have to do what to the fractions? You'd have to simplify. All right? So now Carter said 40. So everybody, again, we're practicing. So I'm putting a 40 on the bottom. I'm putting a 40 on the bottom. And so what do I multiply the 8 by? 5. So I'd have to multiply the 5 by what? Yes. Is everybody good? So that becomes 25. You agree with that? Now what do I multiply the second equation by? 4. And so 3 times 4 is? So now when you subtract, wow, 13 over 40. Everybody with me? That wasn't bad. All right, so now number 10 should be easy for everybody. These are the easy ones, so we're just going to zip through them.
Isn't it one whole?
No, I know, but first thing you're going to tell me what the answer is. 3 over 3, and then 3 divided by 3 is 1. So what you're saying is, if you have 2/3 of a pizza and 1/3 of a pizza, if you put it together, you have what? 3/3, which is 1 whole. Everybody okay with this? All right. Always simplify. So 3/20 plus 7/20. Let me hear Leighton.
Okay, 3/20 plus 7/20 is 10/20, and then you can divide it by 2.
Yep, I'm happy. All right. Now, technically, though, we divide it by 10. That's okay. All right. No, you're fine. Okay, now we have something a little bit new here. Thomas, what's 5/8 plus 7/8? That's right. 12 over 8, and then what do I do? Good job, buddy. Yes, 3 over 2. Now, again, 3 over 2. That's called an improper fraction. That's correct. So now you just say, how many times does 3 go into, or 2 go into 3? How many times does 2 go into 3? With how many left over? 1 and 1/2. Everybody happy with that? Thomas?
I just did.
Carly, hold on. Carly, you good with this? Everybody understand now, this is the new topic right here, the 3/2. Now, if you don't, we didn't review that so much. Everybody okay? Then sit over the next one. Everybody good? Okay, let's look at 13. So, let me have Chloe, go ahead. No, I didn't mean Chloe. I looked right at Carly. I'm sorry. Carly. But what can I divide by? Yes, there you go, girl. And so that's what? Yeah, 3/5. All right, now, I think it's better for me to just start going down the page. All right, we're going to do 17 now. All right, Chloe, tell me about 17.
So it would be 5.
Beautiful, girl. 5. Good. Exactly. Very simple. Very simple. Ava, you have a tricky one. But there's one better than that. 16 is good, but what's even better than 16? There you go. Right? So you can make 8. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to say 1/2. What am I multiplying 1/2 by? You with me? You with me? So 1/2 becomes what? 4/8, right? Is that good? All right. Then you're adding 2/8, which makes it, let her do it, Gavin. I'm going to get to you.
That makes it 6/8.
And then?
Simplify it to 3.
Yes, perfect. All right, is everybody happy with that? What?
For some of them, can we just think about it like in our head, like, well, 1/2, like 8 would be 4/8, like without even having to.
That's what I said. All right. So now I'm on, Gavin, I'm going to let you try 25. 7/10 minus 1/6. What's the common denominator?
Okay, so what you do is, the closest you could do is 30.
That is correct. Now notice what I'm doing. 30 minus, and then 30 over here. Everybody seeing that? So what am I going to multiply the first fraction by?
You multiply 7 times 3.
Yep.
Yeah,
And then?
you do 1 times 5.
Good job.
5. And then 21 minus 5 is 8. No, not 16.
16 over 30. And then?
You can simplify that into, if you just divide by 2, that's 8/15.
Now look, Evan, I'm going to be mad at you tomorrow, all right, if you're not working this out. Not just writing the answers. I mean it. No, I'm just writing the answers.
But on the easy ones.
Yeah, on the easy ones, yes. Anything with a common denominator, you just write the answer. All right? So now I'm going to jump to 31. All right? Yes. Yes, so the common denominator, though, tell me what the common denominator is. Yep, common denominator is 15. Remember what I told you, as soon as you don't see it, speak up. Beautiful. That's right. You're very good, Brad. All right. Did I skip you? All right, you're up. 35. What am I doing?
You get 14.
Good job. Much better.
You can keep it at
Yep, we keep it at 14. So you put equals, and then you have,
14.
and that just stayed, yeah. And then, what am I multiplying 1/7 by?
2, so it's 2 over 14.
Good job, kiddo.
And then it's 7 over 14.
Yes, very nice. 7 over 14 is 1/2. Is everybody with me?
What's the number
31? Yeah. You okay with that? Okay, now everybody's got to put a star by number 39 because it looks hard, but it's what? Easy. You just have to be careful because you got to find what goes into 5, 6, and 10, which isn't really that hard. Everybody agree with? Does everybody see 30? Now you should be getting good at the numbers enough that you can just say, okay, 5, 6, and 10, 30, right? Because you count by 10, then 20. 6 doesn't go into 20, so then you go 30, and then what? 5 and 6 go into 30. So the answer is 30. All right? So now here's what we got.
I figure it out. I do like the 5 times 6 is 30 divided by 10.
Yep. That's not a bad one. Everybody see I'm making my fractions, right? Okay, so 2/5 is how many 30ths, Jack?
2/5 is 6. That's 12.
Thank you. 12 30ths. Anybody have any issues? Any issues? Leighton, 1/6 is how many 30ths?
Is it going to be 5?
You are awesome. 5 30ths. And then 7/10. Ava is how many? 21. So everybody should have that. All right. Now you just got to do the math. What's 12 minus 5? Go ahead. 7, right? And then 7 plus 21. Everybody happy with that? So the answer is 28 over 30, which reduces to, what does that reduce? Yeah, 14 over 15. Guys, that took you way too long. You should be able to just say I'm dividing by 2 and you just get 14 over 15. Okay, so now, all right, I'm going to shrink this down because 43 is, I think, the hard one. All right, but I don't think it's really that hard. Okay, so what I want to do is I want somebody to tell me, does 3 go into 15? Does 9 go into 15? No, so 15 doesn't work. So then I try what? 30. Does 9 go into 30? So then I try 45. Does 15 go into 45? Yes. I shouldn't even said that one. Does 9 go into 45? Does 3 go into 45? Now I know 3 goes into 45 because 3 goes into 9, and 9 goes into 45. Everybody with me on that? So 3 has to go into that. So now you have to write 45 how many times? 3 times. Now how many times does 15 go into 45? 3 times, because we counted by 15, 30, then 45. So I had to multiply by 3. So that's 6 over 45. Hold on. Carly, how many 45s is 4/9? I'm proud of you, girl. 20. And then Ava, 1/3 is how many? 15. Beautiful, guys. I told you guys were whining about fractions. It's easy. Easy, simple, simple. All right? So now add them together. I think it's 41 over 45 too. Does anybody double check his work? 41 over 45. So everybody pretty happy with that, right? Okay, so now let's everybody look at 3, 5, and 8. Now, does everybody understand what I'm saying? These are relatively prime. Everybody see why they're relatively prime? Because 8 has nothing in common with 5. 5 has nothing in common with 3, and 3 has nothing in common with 8, so they're relatively prime. So if they're relatively prime, that just means you have to multiply them together. Everybody hear me? So that's an easy way to do this one. So that would be 120. Thank you very much. Now I forgot this would be negative in front. So what do I multiply 3 by to get 120? No.
40.
40. Right? So you're multiplying by 40. Come on, guys. Double check me. So that would be negative 80. Is everybody with me? Now, highlight or do something. Make sure you remind yourself there's a negative there because that's the problem. All right, how many times does 5 go into 120? I know it's 24. Let me show you why I know it's 24. Listen to me. Because 3 times 5 times 8 is 120, right? So if I've already used the 5, it has to be 3 times 8. Do you hear me? So now I'm going to multiply by 24. And so somebody tell me what 4 times 24 is.
Wait, 92. 96.
96. Thank you.
Oh, I thought you said 8 times 4.
4 times 24 is what I said. Okay, now how many times does 8 go into 120? You should be able to tell me. Stop. How many times does 8 go into 120? 15 times, obviously. Now, how did I know that? Because, look, guys, I'm trying to show you. I'm under with this 8's already there. So the 2 that are missing are what? The 3 and the 5. Or the 3 times 5, which is 15. So everybody see that? And then 15 times 5 is? 75. Beautiful. Now, the hard part. All right? Well, we're going to find out right now. Shh. We're going to find out right now. So, negative 80 plus 96 is how much? Is how much? Whoa! 16.
Oh, it's
16. Negative 80 plus 96 is 16. Now, come on. You got to pay attention now on these positives and negatives. So everybody agree that it's 16. Now, what's 16 plus 75? 91 over 120. Thank you. 91 over 120. All right. What time's the bell? Pretty soon. All right. So now here's my attention, yeah. Is that correct?
No.
It's up there on the right.
Oh yeah, it's 19. So it's not that far off. All right. So now here's what I want you to try to do for me tonight. Does everybody agree that the common denominators are easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here is what I'm going to have you do. All right, listen to me, guys. I got to check your homework because it's that important. Every day I'm checking your homework. All right, you're going to get in trouble if you don't do it. And I'm going to give you a break. So I want everybody to write 14, 15, and 16 down. Because those are the easy ones. Okay? And then what we're going to do is I want you to write down 28 through 38. 28 through 38. So that's 12 problems. That's it. Everybody hear me? That's fair. All right, I want them done. All right, is everybody with me? No excuses. None whatsoever. All right? Have to do common denominators, add fractions. Be careful, there's some positives and some negatives. All right? Take care of business. All right?
Can I go get my binder really quick?
Yeah, quickly.
No, binder's in my book.
Hurry up.